Hi there, Michel. My name's Andrew, and I work here at IELTSpodcast.com with Ben and the others. Well done for getting your first essays in. We've already been through your P1s and P2s and seen that you certainly understand how to produce writing in an academic format. So now's the time for the real work. I'll be correcting your essays sentence by sentence, and along the way offering tips and pointers on how to improve. What's really important about these corrections is that you take each one and correct your own work using each and every suggestion. In this way, over time, you can learn to spot your own mistakes and stop making them in the future. This will also provide you with a decent amount of confidence to take into the exam, which you will find improves your speed and reduces your mistakes. So first things first, I would say here, this is slightly grammatically incorrect. I would just say, methods of communication have changed significantly over the last 10 years. It is regularly stated that communication, so you can remove this, it is regularly stated that communication is worsening. You can change this into a single word. In academic writing in English, it's always better to write in fewer words. So if there's one word you can use instead of two that does the job better or the same, always do it. So communication is worsening between family members. Nowadays, yeah, that's fine. However, in my opinion, it has only improved during the last decade. Excellent. This essay will discuss this issue using examples to demonstrate points and support arguments. Firstly, communication has improved largely because sending a short text message, so there's no need for the plural there. So this sentence is slightly long, because the first sentence of a paragraph should just generally introduce the topic of the idea. So with a very, very quick communication, but what aspect of communication? So is it speed of communication or efficiency of communication? Or are we specifically referring to the cost? So what we should say is that many improvements have been made to communication of late or recently. And then in the second sentence, we would expand the ideas to say, this is mainly due to the fact, or this is largely due to the fact, that the majority of messenger services, we use the majority instead of most in the majority of cases, like WhatsApp or Facebook, are available for free, or are available free of charge. We don't really need this because we've already talked about the fact that it's the last decade, and we've already talked about the fact that it's recently. So then we can just say, we can go on to say that communication has improved because these platforms are not only free of charge, but provide an instantaneous method of communication. So the data that is required for such a message to be sent, this should be a T, to send or to be sent over the internet, costs only a fraction of an SMS message. That was the standard before instant messengers. So we should say, we should refer to the fact that instant messengers, the fact that they are immediate and free when compared with SMS services or mobile communication services, however you want to refer to it, but we should compare the two directly, and then we have a good supporting statement there. Therefore, it is relatively easy to keep all family members up to date appropriately. I would say all family members who use the technology, and I would make a reference to now as well. I would say, therefore, it is now relatively easy to maintain contact with family members who have access to this technology. Secondly, the quality of communication has improved significantly. For example, with applications like FaceTime and Skype, grandparents nowadays can actually see and speak to their grandchildren, even when they are on the other side of the world. So what we could say here is, for example, applications such as FaceTime and Skype permit distant relatives to see and speak to their family regardless of distance. Regardless of distance. And then we are eliminating a number of words here. But what we need is, you said the quality of communication has improved significantly. But what we should say, we should expand on that. We could even refer to the past and say that in the 90s, or only 2 decades ago, video calls were not possible with bandwidth limitations. These days, for example, applications such as FaceTime and Skype permit relatives to contact their family members via video link regardless of distance. As a consequence, this more modern method of communication has clearly improved interfamilial contact. So I'm just going to do this to show you clearly improved interfamilial contact. This is all one word. But otherwise that's good, it just needs that additional sentence to expand it fully. To conclude, from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that new technologies have improved communication between family members. I would say, have considerably, I would put the adjective here, have considerably improved communication between family members, and this will only advance more as technology develops further in the coming years. So let's get rid of that. Stick that there, and remove that. Technology develops further in the coming years. So it's just about reducing and smoothing. And these are the sorts of habits that we want to develop over the next few essays. So here's your next piece. Now that you're a little bit more familiar with the format, I will run through this one just sentence by sentence. Because you do clearly understand the academic structure, your essays are consistently, or at least these two, are consistently paced well and structured well. So I'm going to focus on grammatical and lexical corrections, that's new words and new grammatical structures. So, reading is believed to be good for children in order to develop a sense of imagination. However, this should have a comma there. However, in my opinion, it is better to undertake enjoyable activities with them. One sec. So, not that it needed it, but I've made a number of corrections to this just to show you, I suppose, what it could be. So I had to add here, these commas need to be added around however. So, good for children in order to develop a sense of imagination. However, in my opinion, further comma, it is better to undertake a variety of enjoyable activities as part of learning in order to promote a multitude of more important skills. I just think that sounds nicer. So that would be quite a high-scoring sentence. This essay will discuss the issue using examples to demonstrate points and prove arguments. So here, I would just get rid of that. Firstly, reading does not involve real human... That one can go as well. But what's real... Oh, okay, I'll say it. That's okay. Reading does not involve real human interaction. So I've just altered your first sentence a little. Reading does not provide human interaction. such as when playing a multiplayer board game, for instance. A recent study by the University of Amsterdam has shown that children who played a game of Monopoly once a week had significantly better scores in social communication and negotiation skills as compared to a control group. That's fantastic. Perfect. When I start to see error-free sentences, it starts to hint at a level 7 in grammatical range and accuracy, which is a very important part of the mark scheme. As a consequence, kids that play games together may be, I would say, better able to deal with real, I'd say, more challenging situations in the future. Because if we just say real life situations, arguably, everything is a real life situation. There is no situation that is not part of life because you must be alive to experience it. Secondly, as reading is a passive activity, I don't think it is. I think reading requires an active mind that's why it develops imagination, because the child is forced to use their brain to imagine. Books don't just go in without effort. I wish they did. But you're correct in the fact that it doesn't stimulate all skills, but I wouldn't say that reading is a passive activity. It does require effort. Watching television is a passive activity. Also, I don't like the use of the word like. I changed it up here as well to such as. Because it's slightly informal to use like, to compare in an academic essay, to draw simile with the word like. I think it's mainly because the Americans have used like as a placeholder in sentences. So when they don't know what to say, they say like all the time. And it's become an informal word. So I would start to separate these into two sentences. So I would say that motor functions, we could say and then that should be a comma there. Does not stimulate all skills, including motor functions. Playing outside is too general. We don't really know what it is. So we could say that playing sports improves health. Playing sports improves health, which in turn is important for cognitive function as well. A recent study published in the Journal of the Adolescent Child, no comma, showed that children who played outside for more than 25 hours a week had a 10% higher score on a, let's be super fancy, on a standardized when compared with let's say children who were sedentary. I'm sure you know what sedentary means. Stationary, not moving, lazy. People who sit down a lot. Sedentary
let's say the majority of the time. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance. Ooh, don't personalize essays, because this now sounds like you're telling people what to do. Don't instruct your reader. They don't like being told what to do. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance to ensure that kids is too informal, so we could say young people. It is of the utmost importance to ensure that young people are encouraged to play often. It doesn't really matter about whether it's outside or not, because what we're referring to is just the fact that exercise helps. You know, in being a living thing, if you don't move around, you just tend to get fat and die. So it's really important that children are encouraged to play. Let's say, participate in active play often. There we go. To conclude, from the examples and arguments given, I firmly believe that, let's say, more engaging activities, not like that, with children can be more beneficial than reading in order to maximally stimulate all potential abilities. I like that. It is predicted that reading in schools will not be as important in the future as it is, and just to be pedantic, today. So, there's that one. But in the future, I won't be writing it out in this manner. I've done it like this first essay to give you a really good idea of what we'll be doing. In the future, I will just be reading through it and stating my corrections, and it will be up to you to listen for them. But that's us done for today, Michel. Have a wonderful evening. Get your next essays in as quickly as possible, and I will get them back to you. Thanks again. Bye-bye for now.